Hey y'all, welcome back to Zone 4, another installation of Texas-made Hip Hop 50 on the Hill. I am your host, the dope fat girl, Big Silver G, and we have the DJ Superstar right here with me.
Hey,
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Fell for a square. That's what we say. I got some questions for you.
Okay, what's up? Let's let it roll.
So you've been DJing since 2001,
Mm-hmm.
and you've had the opportunity to perform both locally and nationally.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Including Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Yes.
Can you share some of your most memorable moments and experience from your DJing career?
Whoa. Oh. Now, I don't know. Oh, now that is a great question. However, let's see. I will pick probably, I would say three things that are like my highlights. I mean, of course, when I first started, but that was kind of scary. But I would say 2011, that was the first time. So there was this TV show, BET Master the Mix, and it was a TV show where they came, where the TV show went to different cities and you had to try out. Well, I was the only female to try out, and I made it. Kid Capri, DJ Mars, and Victor Duplaix, they were the DJs. I was so nervous going in. I didn't have no strategy. I just remember doing a mix that I had practiced probably 3 days before that, and I did the mix, and they gave me a standing ovation, and that was like the first time I actually felt like I was outside of my body, like it was that out-of-body experience because I listened to that voice. And I would say that because I was on BET, that was a big thing. Okay,
Before Tyler Perry.
Before Tyler Perry.
Before Tyler Perry.
And then the next thing was when I DJ'd for Jay-Z and Beyonce. And that's a long story, but the short of it was that I was supposed to DJ this after party for after the concert, just a random after party. And I got a call the same day and was like, "Hey, Superstar, are you going to the concert?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going." And then they was like, "Well, you're going to get a call in a couple of minutes." When I got the call, it was a call from Bun B. And at the time, I was like, "This who?" I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Superstar, are you DJing tonight?" I was like, "I'm going to the concert." And he was like, "Well, after the concert, are you DJing anywhere?" I was like, in my head, I was like, "No, what you need?" At this point, I got, and then they was like, "Okay, well, the next person, you'll get another call." I was like, "Okay." So I'm sitting there at happy hour trying to get my pregame because just before that, I'm trying to, get my mind right. And then I'm like, "Oh, Lord, what is going on now?" The next call was this the event coordinator and was like, "Hey, you going to the concert?" I was like, "Yeah." And they was like, "Well, after the concert, just call me. I'm going to leave at 10:30 and then I'll meet you at Funplex." I was like, "Funplex?" And I'm sitting in my head like, who's having a party at Funplex? And I'm thinking at this time it was Bun B's niece, because he had a young niece at the time, and I thought that I was, going to DJ for her. Well, needless to say, the concert was going on. I ended up after the concert. Fast forward, I left, got to Funplex around 10:30, 11. It was raining that night. I never forget, and it was just me, my fiance at the time, my friend, and the worker in the back, the bartender.
Yeah.
It was just us four for like 2 hours. I was practicing, and I remember the song that was out. It was No Flex Zone, No Flex Zone. So I was DJing. I was just partying with us three in the room. And then all of a sudden, the side doors opened. And when the side doors opened, I was like, "Well, who is that?" And it was like the lights just came on. Y'all, Beyonce just started. So basically, she just started skating. And I'm like, that's the exact face that I had. Now, I'm on that H2O, and I'm looking at, and I'm like, "Is that Beyonce?" And I'm like, "Is that Beyonce skating?" And I'm like, "That's Beyonce skating." So I'm like, "That's Beyonce skating." So, but then I had to get my mind together, like, "Girl, you still DJing,
Yeah.
so just DJ." And I'm like, "Well, why am I DJing? What does she want to hear?" In my head, like, what? So I'm all like, I cannot believe this is Beyonce.
Yeah.
So like 5 minutes later, the side doors opened, and then Bun B walked in. It was all of her band and all of them, everybody part of her camp. This is the funny part. So I was sitting there DJing, and I knew the Les Twins, and I knew her drummer because her drummer's from Houston, and we were real good friends. I'm gonna fast forward because I told you a long story. And I get a tap on my shoulder like this, like from behind, and I thought it was my fiance at the time. And ladies, when you get that tap on your shoulder and you think it's your boyfriend, you like, and I done told you don't bother me right now. And then and then you get that, and then you turn around with that look like, and I got that tap, and I turned around with the attitude. I was getting ready to cut. I was getting ready to say some words to my ex-fiance, and when I turned around, and I was like, y'all, it was Jay-Z. Y'all know what I did when he tapped me on my shoulder, and I turned around that angry black girl attitude, like, and he was like, "Yo, mommy, keep it south," and I was like, and I just turned around. I will never forget that. I got chills now. I turned around like, okay. And at that point, it just went blank. And I was like, I just kept it south. I just DJ'd every south music. But at the time, I didn't realize what he was doing. And back now that we're in 2023, he was looking for that next artist. And I think he was looking, and I think I did at the time. Megan was just kind of starting, or we had like some local music. He was looking for that next artist. And after that, DJ, we had fun. And I remember them walking out, and they was Beyonce like, I was like, so yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna leave those two. That was two, yeah.
That was a lovely story. That's something I can tell my kids.
Oh yes, okay, yes. Oh shoot, what?
So as an on-air personality and DJ for Houston 93.7 The Beat and the TV host for Fox 26, you have a significant presence on both radio and television. How do you balance these roles, and what do you enjoy most about connecting with your audience through these mediums?
So let me just say this. So I was actually DJing on Fox with Isaiah Factor. So I don't know if y'all look at Fox, but Isaiah was the host that had the bug fly in his mouth and was like, blah, blah, blah. Go back and look for that tape. Go back. That's going to be funny. He is an anchor. Sorry, Isaiah, if you look.
Like, I'm sick of this.
Yes. So
okay.
that's, yes. Yeah. So, yes. So
okay.
That's who I DJ for on Fox 26 for the longest. And I still do, but COVID kind of changed everything. So actually, probably like 2 months was my first time going back into TV. But radio has still, it's an ongoing thing. I would just say that it is you have to be very disciplined and very organized, which is I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that. But what was that last part of that question?
What do you enjoy most?
What do I enjoy most?
Connecting with audience.
Well, see, I've always been a people person, even when I was here at school. So I like to meet people. I like connecting with people, and I like to hear people's stories.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me. And it wasn't until probably, people be watching, and I don't really be thinking that. So sometimes when I go to the grocery store and I'm just like, ladies, I don't wear no bonnets and nothing like that, but when I don't want to brush my hair or something like that, I just be in my own zone, and somebody might be like, are you from, I remember you from Fox 26. And I'm like, oh, what? I'm like, oh, Lord. I'm like, okay. Like, let me keep smiling. But I do like connecting with people because, that part, when people come back and tell me they've seen me, it's like, oh, well, dang, they really paying attention.
Yeah, for sure. So we have another question.
Okay.
You also host your podcast, She Got the Juice, and a community show called Face the Beat. Could you tell us more about the topics you cover on these shows and what message or impact you hope to achieve with your podcast and community programming?
So with She Got the Juice, actually, that was a movement that I wanted to start. It was after COVID. Well, it was kind of actually before COVID, and COVID kind of stopped it a little bit. Well, COVID stopped everything. However, She Got the Juice was more so a movement of, at the time, music, like your top female or your female person in pop culture who had the juice, whether It was in politics, music, um, anything, everything, pop culture, right? But then when I started the movement, I was like, but what about the guys, you know? And so, because I'm always leaving them out because y'all leave us out. But, just kidding. But then when I would interview the guys, it would more so be I got the juice because of who I was interviewing. So when I first started the podcast, I had, Lil Kiki, Zero. I interviewed your rappers in Houston because I really wanted to get their stories, and I've done some political interviews as well. My goal is to start it back up next year, but I think that stories need to be told, especially for females and their stories.
Yeah.
So I eventually will start that again. But Face the Beat, on a whole nother note, is what I do on 93.7 The Beat, which is more community driven, which is more so like the issues and or events that are happening in the city or surrounding cities that's going to help the community or that is involved in community. Like we just came off of voting. So I did a big, like last week I talked about voting. October was breast cancer, domestic violence awareness month. Things like that is what I talk about on Face the Beat. And most of the times those guests have events that they're doing to coincide with it. And so that's what I do. But I've always been involved in the community, so that's something that I like to do.
Yeah. Yeah. As a female DJ in a long-standing tradition of female DJs, how have you seen the landscape evolve for women in the DJing and music industry? And what advice would you give an inspiring female DJ?
Great question. These some good questions. Y'all so smart here, Preview. Good questions. So it wasn't popular at all when I started. And I was just telling y'all too in the workshop that sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I do still have a chip on my shoulder, but because of so many things that have happened to me with being a female DJ back then, I've had to let it go. And when I started, my goal was to, and I still am, going to reopen my DJ school. And like I said, nobody wanted to train me as a female, and I always wanted to have this lane for females and that opportunity for females to reach out to me, right? So I have been grateful and blessed that a lot of females, well, most of the female DJs that have started or that have moved to Houston, respectfully, they have reached out to me first, and I can respect that. That has been like the biggest thing. Now they'll like if they move to Houston, they'll reach out to me or reach out for certain advice, and that's like a good thing because that is what I wanted back then. We didn't have it, back then, and on another note, it's always so frustrating that this industry, and I'm just gotta say this, not just DJing just period, that sometimes they want to always put females against each other, and it's horrible. Even the female rappers, why can't you have why can't we still have Nicki, Cardi, Megan, everybody, and they always trying to make it at odds. So I say to say this, even though I am in media, okay, try not to dive too deep in it and believe the hype, okay? Because behind the scenes, these ladies work together. And I'm going to say this, ladies, we got to keep working together, okay? So the advice that I would give to any aspiring female DJ, number one, don't quit because it is hard. And it's harder because you are a female. But if it's something that you really love to do and you really like to do, you're going to do it endlessly without getting paid, whatever. This is what you want to do. I say stick with it, stay present in the moment, try not to get so caught up in your mind, and do what you got to do to make your legacy stick and to continue your legacy if that's something that you want to do. So yeah, and believe in yourself because nobody else will. Period.
From the workshop, something that you really said that stuck with me was make sure that you love it, because it would not be a dollar amount a nothing that will be owed to you from this if you
Mm-mm.
expected money from it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and becoming a woman that's interested in media and being in media days that I've slept in people's studios because I believed in their dream because I knew it was going to take me and
Yeah.
catapult me into the next whatever I want to be. So
Right.
that stuck with me when you said
You
that.
got to do it. Hey, paid or non-paid. You know, like
You
I
gotta
told
love
you, and just like I told y'all in there, most of the gigs that were non-paid for me, I ended up with a bigger and better opportunity from those non-paying gigs. Like right hand in hand. So you gotta love it for sure.
You've been involved in community-focused shows and highlighted local leaders. How do you use your platform to address important community issues, and why is this impact of your work important to you?
You know what? I think I need to start doing more of that with expressing my voice, or what actually expressing my opinions on a lot of things. We live in such a hypersensitive world now where you have to kind of sometimes tiptoe in what you say and how you say it, and it's going to offend anybody and all of that. But I got to get better at that. I'm not even going to lie, because everybody has something to say. And you never know how your voice is going to help the next person. So I got to get better at that. However, if you do ask me on these streets or you ask me somewhere else, I'm going to give you your opinion. I'm going to tell you my opinion. But community is very important. We have to lean on each other. We have to work together in order to make this world a better place, like straight up. So, yeah.
I have a personal question.
Okay.
Okay, I am a student that's not from Houston or
Okay.
Texas, well, the South.
Oh, where are you
in general.
from?
I'm from Chicago. South Side, born and raised.
Now,
Inglewood.
Chi-Town, y'all are deep. I know Chi-Town is deep here at Prairie View, because
It
Chi-Town
is.
has always been deep here.
Yeah, I've just noticed a lot of my
A lot of
classmates.
people from
Yeah.
Chicago here. Yes. All right, Chi-Town. Okay.
I need to know what is like my South starter playlist. If I want to hear some people from the South, and I know like Outkast and Bun B. and
That's like my
Slim
favorite
Thug.
group, Outkast. I mean, yeah, it's my favorite group, but you say playlist.
What's my starter playlist for somebody that?
What you getting ready? Oh, your starter playlist.
Yeah.
But see, in my head, you know what I'm thinking? Like, so your starter playlist, but what is that playlist for? Is it for you just
It's
getting up, waking up, or is it for you to turn up, or is this your playlist just like, oh, introduce Houston?
Okay, I see it's a little.
Yeah.
lot of vibes
So,
with
but
it.
look, but that's what in my head, that's what would be like. Okay, well, what does she want?
I want
When
something to
people ask
introduce
me,
Houston.
okay, see, when people ask me their playlist, that's what goes on in my head.
Okay.
And then too, you're a female, and you're young, so because I wouldn't play any, old school, but kind of would. But of course, start a playlist. Beyonce.
I love Beyonce.
Period. Well, actually, Destiny's Child.
Okay.
Let's reel it back in. So we go do Destiny's Child. Destiny's Child for sure. Even though UGK, Port Arthur, Houston, same thing, Texas. Gotta have some UGK in there. Now you say Houston playlist or just South?
Houston.
Okay, we're gonna do Houston because that's another thing. But Beyonce for sure. UGK, of course. I'm gonna go with the hot girl coach, Megan. Toby. Man, I'm just so proud of him. Yeah, Toby for sure. And actually, I like Lizzo. Okay, and actually, when I had my DJ school, Lizzo and Toby, I used to make Toby. Y'all, I used to make Toby MC weddings with me sometimes. And I would show you pictures, and I'd be like, this boy is now in Paris doing songs, and I'm like, wow, that just blows my mind. And he started off at the Poetry Lounge where I was DJ, so to see his evolving anyway. So Toby for sure. What I say, UGK, Scarface, all the Ghetto Boys for sure. Then Slim Thug, Zero, Kiki's my boy. I would do Fat Pat, Hawk. I would even go back like Lil Troy. And Wanna Be a Baller, should I call her? Tops Drop, all Screwed Up Click, all of that. Big Pokey, Big Mo, and let's see. We need one more female. You know, I would even put that girl Lele on there, just because she's evolving,
Okay.
and like that little girl got a big old platform, and you need to know about her because that shows Houston just started a playlist.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of one more song. Um, See, you got me thinking now. I just want to give you everything.
I just asked because at homecoming, this is my first HBCU homecoming,
What?
and I was just like this, lost.
Cause you was lost.
I was
Because you know
lost.
what? Lost in the sauce. Cause you didn't know. You was like Houston and even Dallas music. Like I would play like so. Mr. Rogers went here and he had his group, the Party Boys, Flex. I would definitely put that on there.
Okay.
You know, all of your Duros and your, you know, all of your Dallas stuff. But you just made a good point. And I think you need to start doing that for people that move here from out of state and move whatever, and they come down to Houston.
Yup. Oh, I mean, next homecoming, make sure that
Start a
y'all.
playlist so that people know.
Yep.
So you can know the songs that's for the culture, you know, for this region.
Yep.
I think that's what you gonna do. You're gonna make this whole list.
So thank you.
Question.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you for coming on the Zoom for. Thank you for taking this interview. Can you tell our viewers where they can find you?
Well, you can find me in the streets. Well, you can't find me in the streets. But you can follow me at I am DJ Supastar. That's Supastar. All platforms, social, Twitter, X, Instagram, all of that. You can follow me on that. TikTok. I'm trying to get better with my TikToks. But if you Google DJ Supastar, I'm accessible. And I'm always accessible for you all here anytime. I mean, I'm in so many group chats here with y'all, and I done exchanged my numbers. But anytime I can come back, I mean, I love it. I just love y'all. We didn't have all of this. I got a whole studio and podcast room. I love this. This is everything. So keep doing this good work for real.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's so good. You're welcome.
Stay tuned for more interviews with Texas-made Hip Hop 50 on the Hill.
Hi, and welcome back to Zone 4. My name is Kelsey Brown, and today we have a special guest, Matt Sonzala. And he had the chance to speak at our panel today, and our team came up with some questions that they really wanted to ask him. So I'm going to be asking him these questions. Okay?
Yeah,
So,
please.
you've played a crucial role in expanding the hip-hop presence at South by Southwest. And can you share the journey of how you accomplished this and the impact it has had on Texas hip-hop scene?
Well, I mean, I first attended South by Southwest probably in like 1990, and I found it just to be really fun. And I had the good fortune in the early 90s, probably 93, of meeting a guy named Andre Walker,
Okay.
who was putting together hip-hop showcases at South by Southwest, even back then, even if it was just one or two each year. He was bringing artists from around Texas and bigger names like the Gravediggers, which is the RZA, one of the RZA's early groups from the Wu-Tang Clan with Prince Paul. Like their first show ever was in Austin at South by Southwest in '94, and the Black Monks, like legends from Houston, Mad Flavor from Dallas, groups like that were on that showcase. And he brought me in to just kind of help him with the whole process, and so I learned from there and got to see, you know, the impact that it could have way back then when I was really young. And in 2003, I was seeing what, you know, this is, 10 years later, I was seeing the impact that Houston was having on the music community. Like Houston hip hop was blowing up and really having its, starting its moment, at that particular moment at that time. And I was asking some of the artists, like, are you doing South by Southwest? And a lot of them just looked at me like they didn't know what it was. So for me personally, I really wanted to expand the Houston presence. I mean, it's the biggest music conference in the world. People come from all over the world to there. I wanted them to see our artists, my friends, the people that are making an impact right here in this state. So I started from that, and every year just kind of pushed my way in more, like booking the Houston guys, but then like kind of saying, look, I'll do all of it, and they offered me a job a couple years later, and I came in and just went like full on, like let's make a change. South by would get criticized, and they had hip hop for years, don't get me wrong. There was always shows, but they would get criticized about just being a rock conference or a white conference. That was it, and when I came in, I was fortunate. It was the time of the blogs, and I had a blog, and people were looking at this, and it was before social media. It was just a time where you had to look to the blogs and stuff for your information on new music, or the mixtapes and things that were coming out. So I was able to kind of like spread the word pretty organically through the internet at that point. And I also had a radio show in Houston. It was in the beginnings of internet radio. So people could hear it outside of Houston, all over the world if they wanted to. So I was really fortunate to come in at that time and be able to put all those things to work hand in hand and get the message out. And it really worked. I mean, hip hop transformed that conference for sure.
That's a really inspiring answer. I like that. But speaking of radio, your radio show Damage Control on KPFT in Houston helps spread Texas hip hop music worldwide. Can you describe the evolution of the show and its role in promoting the genre?
Well, I'm wearing the shirt of my brother Zen. That's who I started the show with. He was taken from us by a drunk driver in 2016, man. He's one of my great friends and partners in life, man. And around that time, it was 2002 that it started. And I was like, look, man, all this stuff's happening in Houston. And again, KPFT is a community station in the middle of the most diverse city in America. Like, you know, let's represent for what's going on right here. And so when we came together, along with DJ Chill a little bit later, and there's more people that have been a part of it over the course of these last 20-some years, but we had this whole concept of like damage control means we're going to control the damage done by the corporate media and the radio stations that are all owned by one company and are all controlled by corporate interests. You know, we literally had an open door policy. We opened the door so anybody from Bun B and Slim Thug and Chameleonaire could come in, but also people you never heard of, you know, and these guys would be standing side by side or freestyling side by side together. And again, like, we were fortunate to be in the beginnings of internet radio, and, you know, that was such a revolution for me because I personally want to hear things from all over the world, but then to be able to present what's going on right here in Houston to the world. We used to have, like I say, it was before Twitter, before Facebook. It might have been the beginnings of Facebook at that time, but we had a MySpace page, and we had AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, and then there were a bunch of like message boards that were like communities. Like one still exists today, the screwshop.com. And it's just a place where like people who trade screw tapes or into the music, they can communicate with each other. Back then, before the social media, that was how, you know, it would be very specific niche groups. Like there was a board called the Holler Board, which is just some DJs who one of them became Diplo from in Philadelphia, and it was all these DJs were on that board, and there were people who were getting interested in Houston rap, so they would tune in. We'd always get on the boards at the beginning of the show and communicate with people, and it was really cool because it opened up the door just to all these ears all over the world, just being able to broadcast over that, and then they could hit us on the instant message. They could message us through those boards or email us or whatever, and it was just kind of it was a really crazy time. It was really fun, and for me, it was just such a dream to people from Europe or something would be messaging us, and they'd be listening at 6 in the morning.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That sounds like a really great experience.
It was incredible.
Especially before the social media. Now it's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more noise now, and I feel like it's almost harder to be heard to an extent because there's so much noise and so many people are just posting anything. You don't know what's real sometimes. You know, where there it was just like, if you went to the Holler Board, you had a specific reason. If you went to Soul Strut, you were a record collecting nerd. If you were on the Screw Shop, you were a screwhead. Chameleonaire.com had a message board. You know, like, there were all these little communities of people who were united for something that they were interested in, as opposed to just this place to blast out everything.
Okay. Well, last question before we let you go.
You know, I can stay as long as you want, whatever.
We would love to have you longer, honestly. We have a lot of questions that we want to ask, so we have to limit it, which really sucks. But you've taken Texas artists on tours around the world. How do you see the impact of these tours on artists' careers and the global recognition of Texas hip-hop culture?
Oh, man, it means a lot, man, because I always talk about, and we talked about it on the panel today, like one of the problems that we've faced in Texas is we're not New York or LA. We don't have the business infrastructure. We don't have the agents that are, you know, embedded in this industry and have control over so many things. Like, we have to do it ourselves, and So for a long time, it looked impossible. I mean, like, but we really kind of went in and kicked down doors. It was like one of the first places that I was able to do internationally was in Norway. It was a festival called the Court Festival. And they had booked Bun B for a stage and Slim Thug for a stage. And then a little later, I had been working with Devin the Dude already and had taken him to Amsterdam and a few places before this festival. But they found out they wanted another guy from Houston and called me about Devin, and so I got Rapid Rick, the DJ from Austin, and Devin and I went out there. Rick ended up DJing for everybody, and we were on stage before Slim Thug was coming out. Slim Thug was on a stage right before Kanye West, and it was kind of crazy, but there were some delays with him coming out. So I just grabbed a microphone and Rick got on the turntables. This is the middle of nowhere, Norway. This is a small town in Norway. And I'm just killing time trying to keep people interested. And he's playing things like Southside from Lil Kiki and Swang and Bang from ESG. And I'm like throwing out his mix CDs and just yelling at the crowd like, yeah, Slim Thug coming up, blah, blah. And I'm looking and there's kids rapping the lyrics to Southside and rapping the lyrics like ESG. And I'm like, where am I?
And this is like in Norway.
Norway, the other side of the world, in practically the Arctic Circle. And the most beautiful day ever, too. It was so amazing to see. And people who were just lined up outside to see Devin, lined up outside to see Bun B. Kanye came backstage for Devin's show. This is 20 years ago, almost. But, like, not quite 20, but almost, you know. And, like, so to me, Bun B has told me that going overseas and even doing South by Southwest opened up his eyes to what his fan base really is. If you exist just in Texas, which a lot of artists do, a lot of the Texas rappers can maintain just in this little region and make enough money and they're comfortable, you don't know that you have a wider audience. Like, back in the day, I'm old. You might go out now and you see some more diversity in like hip hop especially, but back in the day, the clubs in Houston were black. You know, I mean, for the most part, it wasn't like a diverse scene of people. It was the North Side people on one club, South Side people at this club. I would go to whatever because I wanted to see it, you know, and it was like, it was way different. So then you come out and all of a sudden you're in Norway, 100%, you know, blonde crowd, you know, and they're crunk, just so happy. Or Amsterdam, people from all over the world in that city come out and they're like, you know, oh, Bun B, I love UGK, I'm such a fan. And he's like, really? You know, like they had no idea. They never had like, you know, the Houston artists, even the ones that got bigger deals didn't have like the marketing plans that, you know, some of these, you know, other artists from New York or LA did. They didn't have like, even maybe the distribution. So a lot of that stuff came super underground to a bunch of people who were really true to music that we would have never known about if we didn't go and actually go see them. So, yeah, it made a huge impact, and I want to see it keep happening. I want to do even more.
That's
I want to go to Africa. I want to go take these artists everywhere.
All over the world, worldwide.
Yes.
That's really amazing, and that's really heartfelt to hear. I wish I could really speak to you more because this is really interesting.
It's all good.
But we have to cut right here, and thank you so much for taking your time out to come talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
And if you guys haven't seen it already, make sure you guys watch the panel discussion with him and also our other guests that came along. Thank you.
And welcome back. It's your host, Ben Barbie, and I'm here with the lovely Shelby Stewart. And she is our very special guest. She was the creator of the Hip Hop Museum that is here today in our very own Hilliard Hall. So, Miss Shelby, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I've loved meeting you. Like, I can really tell you're a really good person.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to be interviewing you. So I want to ask, like, clearly you have a passion for hip hop and commitment to preserving its history, and it's evident through your work as a founder of the Hip Hop Museum and the Houston Hip Hop Museum. Can you share the inspiration behind establishing this museum and some of the significant exhibits or initiatives it has hosted to celebrate hip hop culture?
Honestly, hip hop is I love hip hop. It's something so close to me. I feel like I wasn't specifically raised on hip hop, but the relationship I grew to have it by listening to music on my own and figuring that out over the years is what has helped my relationship with hip hop grow. And I think that a lot of times Houston is kind of overlooked in that larger conversation about hip hop. And like, obviously we're celebrating the 50 years of hip hop this year, right? But sometimes Houston is kind of left out of that conversation. And so that is kind of the impetus behind me creating the Houston Hip Hop Museum. Since our inception, we've done a handful of brand activations with different brands, like Nike. Just recently did something with Adidas as well.
Period.
Thank you. But outside of that, we've successfully hosted 3 exhibitions in the city of Houston with plans to do plenty more, and we're super excited to be here today.
Right, and PV got one too.
Yes,
So we're
period.
super special. Like, Prairie View is on a roll.
Yes.
And you just spoke about you working with Nike and Adidas, and you've also written for various publications, including the Houston Chronicle, OK Player, Business Insider. Like, you're very booked and busy.
Thank you.
So, how has that experience, you know, as a culture critic and journalist, informed your perspective on hip hop and like the cultural experience overall?
I think that as much as I love hip hop has a very complicated relationship, especially when you think about race and especially when you think about gender, especially as a woman. And I think that even as much as I love hip hop, it's not above critique. And I think that that informs a lot of the work that I do. And it's important that people have a voice. And that's, you know, why I love hip hop. That's why people engage in hip hop or listen to rap. It's because it's a form of self-expression. So.
And it's powerful. It's like one of the most powerful music genres out there.
Yes.
And another bookment of yours, you're a full-time editor at Essence Magazine. That's amazing.
Thank
so
you.
How do you plan to bring your unique perspective and passion for hip-hop to your role? And what kind of stories or features can readers expect from you, like, in this new area?
Thank you. So I recently started at Essence, and I'm the associate editor there. And my beats are mostly entertainment and beauty. But entertainment music is truly, that is my thing. That is my vertical. That is what I love. That's my beat. And I love getting to the nitty gritty of things. I love being able to get into depth with whoever I'm speaking with. And as far as what you can find from me, I've already done some like really, really cool things, had some really, really amazing interviews already, and hopefully many more. I recently talked to Kirk Franklin. You know, he's a Texas native. He recently had those like new revelations about finding out who his real dad was and things like that. And my big to-do right now is last week I actually interviewed Usher. So.
Like, girl, I love Usher.
Usher, baby.
Yes. Did he look good in person?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Was it in Vegas? Like, did you go?
No, so we actually had a virtual conversation, but he was very engaged. He was very nice. He even blew me a kiss afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
You are lucky.
Yes.
You know, speaking of hip hop, as we know, it's very dynamic and it's ever evolving. How do you see its influence on contemporary culture, and what are some of the key messages or themes you believe that hip-hop artists are addressing today?
I think that pop culture of today, honestly, is rooted in hip-hop. A lot of what we know to be culture today is black culture, and black culture also is hip-hop. And so it's all kind of interconnected in that way. Right now, I think I would say a lot of hip-hop artists are speaking their truth in their music, or I'll say a few artists are, but they're speaking their truth, speaking their reality, things that their lived experience basically, and they're putting it into the music. And I think that that is such a beautiful thing, because reality rap has always been a thing in hip hop, and so I think you still see a lot of that today.
Yeah, like hip hop is like the most relevant too. Like,
absolutely.
When it comes to female rap and just all of it, like I'm a big fan. And my last question, sadly, given your extensive experience in journalism and cultural criticism, can you share some advice for aspiring writers and journalists like myself who aim to make an impact in the world of hip hop and culture like you?
I think that my biggest piece of advice would be to stay on your path, stay on your square, and just keep going. I think in an industry such as this one, and just being creative in general, imposter syndrome is something that you kind of deal with on a regular basis. And it's just a reminder that every room that you are in, you're in because you're supposed to be there. And I think that alone has taken me very, very far, because there are some things that feel very surreal to me to this day. Like I told you, I interviewed Usher, but you're supposed to be there.
Exactly.
You know, so you're right where you're supposed to be.
Well, you are killing the game, and you're making, like I said, it's inspiring journalism like myself. Like, you're in Houston, you can make it. It's a lot of opportunities out there. And the Hip Hop Museum is visiting Prairie View literally right now. So if you have a chance, please go look. She works with one of my old professors, Dr. Blackwell, to make this happen, and it's amazing. Like, I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. Do you have anything you want to say to the screen?
Well, if you want to follow the museum, you can follow the museum at HTX Hip Hop Museum. That's on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of the above. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Shelby, SHELBYL, and Stewart, STEWART. And that's on all platforms.
Go follow, because I'm about to. But, okay, thank you guys for tuning in. And when we get back, it'll be some more interviews. So don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome back to the Texas Hip Hop Symposium. My name is Drake Stokes, and I'm joined here with Marcos Cervantes. I want you to say, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am right now a professor at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I teach in the Mexican American Studies program. I research Black and Brown cultural overlap through music, primarily through soul music and hip hop music. And I'm also a hip hop artist by the name of Next Step. And I'm in a group called Third Root. And Third Root, our mission is Black and Brown solidarity and love. So yeah, that's a little bit.
Okay. I have a few questions for you. I want to say, touch on your associate professor position. How did your journey as a hip hop artist intersect with your role as an associate professor in the Mexican American Studies program? And how do those two aspects, influence each other for you?
Oh man, yeah. So really, hip hop started early with me. By the time I was in middle school, I was already rapping and joining groups. So hip hop has just been a real vital part of my life growing up. It's helped me form my identity, my friend groups, the direction that I moved in. Even just becoming a professor, going the academic route, finding out that there was a such thing as a hip hop studies.
Right.
That's what just really motivated me to continue to move forward. So the whole time that I was working on my career as an academic, I was still putting on shows, rapping at shows, DJing, and I think that helped me along the way. It definitely helped me get a job in Mexican American Studies in San Antonio, because the faculty there saw the work that I was doing in the community, saw that I was putting together art, bringing people together. So it really worked for me, like being an artist and working towards becoming an academic. So I think that they continue to inform each other. It can be a different mind state sometimes, the way of thinking, but I think that they help me get better in both aspects of what I'm doing. Meaning, writing, creating helps me, I think, become a better academic, because I got a little bit more insight into things. But then also working academically, I think, helps me as an artist, because there's something about articulating the art that you're creating, talking about it, that can sometimes bring about new ideas, new ways of seeing things.
Yes. As of right now, I didn't know that I had to, add a minor for my major, right? And so I had to add on creative writing. It's crazy because I want to make my own films, and that comes with writing. And it's just, I've always had to pull back on having to write for someone else and not writing my own imagination.
Yeah.
And so with creative writing, I finally found an outlet to where it's like those can, two can converge and like really make something.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, growing up, like hip hop was, obviously in a young mind, it was just this cool thing, like it sounded nice, it sounded cool, but I guess like I didn't really get the message until I became older. And so because of that, like I did find out that, hip hop has always been like this powerful medium, like you had stated, of, for social and political commentary. So I want to ask, like, how did your music, within Third Root or like, solo bass, like would you say like you kind of address those important social and cultural issues?
Yeah, as a solo artist, that's one of the things I did early on. I mean, even as I was developing myself as an artist, just taking on different, subject matter. But as I was getting older, developing my craft, I just kept an eye on what was going on in society. Problems with police brutality, problems with mass education, inequities in real estate. I mean, all of these different forms of oppression. I was really, observing, and I felt like it was important for me to speak on these things. As an artist, talk about how I'm affected, as well as people in my community are affected by some of these problems. So I started pretty early on, like adding political perspectives within my writing, and they've always kind of like helped inform me. Of course, it isn't always, about politics in terms of like what I'm writing about, but I think that if you look far enough, I mean, there's some political aspect of what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, early on, just writing about situations that I was going through, how systemic racism was affecting me.
Right.
And then also my identity, as a Chicano, Latino, performing the hip hop music and sort of what that means. I mean, it's something that I've been able to write about. I feel. And then working with Third Root, I mean, it's just been really great to collaborate with other artists and working towards bridge building. And like I said, solidarity and love. I mean, that's really important. And I think one of the things that creates misunderstandings and even conflict is a lack of awareness of histories and even connected histories. So that's one of the things I think we try to do with Third Root. Is talk about the importance of Black history curriculum, African American studies, as well as Latino studies, Mexican American studies, and all the different variants, and then trying to put that into music. And I love that. That's what we try to work on.
I really truly love like how artists, of all, kinds can really like make a way for their message to be heard. Because I mean, that's really what we need is like a story to be told. And so like I'm really glad that like we've had like people like you and people like just of all races to like know that there's a message to be said, and whatever art that they want to put out, they do that. And you had mentioned like about a bridge, and I'm it's kind of funny because like one of my last questions, or my last question is like to kind of go further into that statement about the bridge. Like in your opinion, how does hip hop serve as a bridge for cultural understanding and expression? Like particularly between Black and brown communities. I know you had kind of touched on it, but like if you could get like delve a little further.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I feel like music does bring people together. It's a unifier, and I think hip hop, because of how it was created, I mean, it comes from all types of different influences, and then definitely if you're looking at Black history in the U.S., I mean, there's just so many ways of music expression, literary expression that inform what hip hop would become. But then hip hop, becomes commercialized, out of the South Bronx, where you have a culmination of people coming together, Caribbeans, Jamaicans, and of course, it's a Black youth art form. But I think one of the beauties of hip hop, being a Black cultural art form that is also helping to bridge other people, other groups, and create dialogue. And back to that thought I was talking about with the misunderstandings and just not being informed. I mean, hip hop has just brought people together. There's just something about the music and the way that hip hop can bring people together that may not live in the same place, might not have an understanding of someone's way of life, but that music can connect you.
It allows like a click, something like to just, like you said, like to have an understanding across like the diaspora and whatnot.
Yeah, and then with the politics, there's also that component of joy, just like letting loose, having a good time, like just being able as Black and brown people to have a good time in these spaces. I think is really important. Something that hip hop brings us, and I just love it, man. It's a beautiful art form, one that, like I said, has informed my life and it continues to influence. Just every step I take along the way.
I love that. So I want to say thank you again for taking your time to like speak to me.
Yeah, thank you.
And I hope like you continue to do your thing. And I want to be a next generation of like making my message out there. So I just glad that I'm able to like see people like you once again and how you've grown, and I want to grow too.
Thank you. That's inspiring to hear. We're in good hands.
All right. Once again, my name is Drake Stokes with
Next step, Marco Cervantes.
and we'll be right back.
And welcome back. It's your host, Ben Barbie.
And the dope fat girl, Big Silver G.
And sadly, we've come to an end to our very special episode of Zone 4, celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop Texas style. We've had like so many amazing guests, and we've had so many amazing things going on. Tell me, what was your favorite part of this 2-day symposium on PV?
My favorite part was getting to interview DJ Supastar, and she gave me that playlist about all the people I need to know from Houston. So next homecoming, I won't be so lost.
You're not missing a beat.
I'm not missing a beat. What about you?
I think my favorite part was definitely interviewing Shelby Stewart, which she's one of the owners of the Houston Hip Hop Museum, and that was also my favorite part because we got a chance to see the museum because it's here at PV, and today was the last day. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, make sure you follow them on their socials because they always pop up in and out. But thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
We're going to be back next week.
Peace.
Bye.